What's up, creeps? And welcome to a brand new motherfucking episode of that thing you tune into every single week for all your horror goodness.
Brain stew!
Brain stew, baby. We're back. It's been a couple of weeks since we've dropped some new shit in your eardrums, but we are here, and we are on the verge of spooky season. All you motherfuckers are already out there to your spirit Halloweens. You're already buying all those killer clown cotton candy guns, all those animated props. You're in mode, just like we're in mode. So we're here to give you the spooky, the creepy, creeping it real, baby. But Jeremy, we got someone special on the episode this evening.
We do. I'm excited to have him on. It's a good friend of mine. Been friends for several years at this point. He was nice enough to feature me in his magazine a few times. Not like I'm flexing that at all, but...
Oh, you are.
It
sounds like you are.
I'm kind of flexing it. So joining us is my good friend Nathan Hanneman. He is the owner of HorrorHound magazine. He owns and operates the renowned horror convention HorrorHound Weekend, comic book writer and creator of Revenge of the HorrorHound, and author of the newly released Halftone Horrors, which is a book all about the history of movie comic books. What the fuck is up, Nathan?
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. Who's better to bring on to talk about all things spooky than the guy that's built his life around it, man?
It doesn't feel like you built your life around something that you love, you know?
Yeah,
like, you look back sometimes and go, crap, all this stuff's horror. That was not intentional.
Yeah, and like we talked pre-show, you've got a beautiful original Ghoulies promotional display behind you. God damn.
That was actually a gift, by the way.
Oh.
A hardcore collector named Landon Lee, who is no longer with us.
I see some of his stuff on eBay sometimes to Landon, and I
breaks your heart, doesn't it?
It does, man. It does, because that's going to be all of us one day, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, fuck yeah, man. Well, dude, we've got HorrorHound Weekend coming up in a few weeks, and I know every time I've talked to you, you're like, I need more time, because you're the one that's putting it all together behind the scenes, man. So,
I think that's become my catchphrase.
Yeah. So, tell all of us what's going on at HorrorHound Weekend, September 9th through 11th.
Yeah, normally we're in Indianapolis in the fall. Due to the pandemic, this is our second time being in the fall. Cincinnati, Ohio. Like you said, September 9th through the 11th, Sharonville Convention Center, HorrorHoundWeekend.com. But we're just trying to put on something. It's really funny. You mentioned the horror stores are in season, Halloween stores, whatever. I went into this show actually going after that spirit crowd. I went off what was going on. So we have Ash vs. Evil Dead reunion, Hocus Pocus, the largest Hocus Pocus reunion, Quinn Lord from Trick or Treat. We have the cast of Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Not coincidentally, John Carpenter's The Thing. There's a lot going on at this show. A hell of a lot. Man.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, first of all, yeah, absolutely. Like, I mean, you pretty much described everything that's happening inside of a Spirit Halloween store. So that's
100%.
That's amazing. But you know who the biggest The Thing fan is, right? At least on this podcast.
Jeremy, do you like
the
movie?
Yeah. Yeah. So
I've never talked about that once.
Heard you talk
all
about
of our listeners know that
life.
I have to like intentionally try to not mention it every episode how much I fucking love that movie, and I still fail. I'm talking about it right now. Our listeners know what's up. God damn, dude, you've got like pretty much everybody, man, and I could not be more excited about that show, and I'm bringing something to your show for the Thing reunion. My good buddy Damon Farkas has been building and assembling a life-size dog kennel monster for quite some time, so I'm gonna that'll be interesting for the cars that I drive next to on the way to HorrorHound, because they're gonna look over and be like, yo, what the fuck was that? Because I have a life-size kennel dog monster, so I'm super excited to bring that and take pictures with the cast and that.
You better put that thing in the passenger seat.
Oh, dude, it's riding
with the seatbelt.
It's
on,
riding
like
in my lap.
With you.
It's riding in my lap. I'll have its head out the window like a fucking real
You gotta pull
dog.
over at like the rest stops and like
go.
let it out in front of the kids and the old ladies. Sorry guys, he can't hold it that long.
It's already bad enough. It's already bad enough that when I drive, I'm typically listening to horror movie scores. So I'll just have the windows down. It'll be, Halloween or Prince of Darkness or something pumping
Oh
with
my
the
God.
Kindle dog hanging out the fucking window.
Dude, you should take a big glob of KY jelly and just throw it on its fucking mouth, just hanging off.
Dude, it has
it in the wind.
it has the spit strains hanging out of the fucking
Can you
mouth.
imagine
dude. It's
being
legit,
that
dude.
family that's like driving on
looks
the
legit.
highway and all of a sudden they're like, what the fuck is that noise? And like zoom in next to them, it's din 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 din, and the dog's just like
Brady, you mean the Mennonite
Mennonites don't
family like
travel to
yours
Cincinnati.
was?
Okay.
You mean the Mennonite family?
That's the city of
Yeah, they
Sin
ride
is
horse
in the
carriage
name.
and
Why would they
buggies.
go there? I'm sorry for any of our Mennonite listeners.
I mean, not to mention, not to mention that my license plate is literally M. Myers. So people
Maddie
will know what the
Myers.
fuck's up.
That's a good one.
So you just released a book, man. That's huge. Tell us about the book, dude.
Yeah, it took like 2 freaking years. I had this idea when the pandemic kicked off that I don't know, kind of like what that little somber opening moment about Landon. I have a lot of things in my mind where I want to leave a mark of, somehow. And I realized that I love doing HorrorHound and stuff like that, but I felt like doing a book finally would help, make I joke all the time that half of our readers of the magazine read our magazine on the toilet. I don't think magazines are something that people pass on after they leave their mortal coil. But books, no one throws a book away.
Yeah.
So I got it in my head. I'm like, you know what? I want to start making books. I'd worked in books back in the day. I haven't made a book myself. I wanted to do something my own. And I sat around. I come up with 6 or 7 ideas that I thought I could do. And for some stupid reason, I landed on Halftone Horrors, which is just the history of horror movie adaptations, comic books. And I honestly thought it was going to be easy when I first started doing it. But if anyone's ever picked up a copy of HorrorHound magazine, we can be a little anal when it comes to detail. And I wasn't going to do this book unless we could show every single variant cover ever produced of every title in the horror genre. So yeah, it literally took 2 years to get this thing from concept to completion. And it sat at the printer for, I want to say 3.5, 4 months, just waiting to be printed, just because of pandemic related delays and paper manufacturing and so forth. But it finally came out, and my gosh, it's a beast.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, man.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. That sounds amazing.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's like
So it went to Kickstarter. So all the Kickstarter backers should be getting theirs, or should have gotten theirs by now. If they haven't, I'm sure I'm going to be getting emails. But it's going to be at HorrorHound Weekend, September 9th through the 11th, and after that, it'll hit our website for anyone who ever missed the Kickstarter.
Sweet. Well, I will definitely be picking up a copy in a couple weeks at the show, man. I'm looking forward to it. And then, dude, you did something else huge recently. You released your comic book, man. That's another, dream for a lot of us geeks, is to create a comic book. So
I've been wanting. I honestly grew up thinking I was going to work in comic books. I have written scripts and storyboards for comic books, since I was a teenager. So the fact that we just did a comic for the first time, and I think I'm 43, is ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm a little mad at myself, and it was really funny because the whole process was not what I expected it to be like. We literally had the entire thing done without a script. I storyboarded it all, and that's how the story was written. And then, after the story was written, the art was done, and then we had to come up with the dialogue based on what I storyboarded, and it was kind of fun. It felt like freestyling a Saturday Night Live kind of thing. Like, it was weird. Hopefully it reads okay.
No, it's awesome, dude. No, I've read it, and it's super super fun, man. I love it, dude. And I'm not just saying that. It's really great. If any of our listeners get a chance, Revenge of the HorrorHound is dude.
Yeah. So I was curious, just growing up though. I mean, obviously you said that you saw a vision that you may be working in comics when you were younger. What were your biggest inspirations when you were younger in terms of comics?
Oddly, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh, perfect. Especially those early comics are just so revolutionary.
I was really big into the Archie ones also, but I mostly was buying anything that was licensed, so like G.I. Joe, Transformers, even He-Man. I was buying a lot of that stuff and reading it as a kid. But it's really funny is I was always so focused on pop culture, so I didn't get in hardcore in the comics until the X-Men cartoon premiered on Fox.
It's funny you mentioned that because I just literally started rewatching that for the first time since I was a kid on Saturday. I was showing my nephews who are 6 and 4.
How does it hold up?
I think honestly, I mean, it came, post Batman the animated series. It was like very quickly after that, which at that time kind of really set the bar for adult/kid comic book adaptation that could still be smart enough for adults but entertaining enough for kids. And I think it holds up really well. I got in like 7 or 8 episodes on Saturday while they were over visiting, and I mean, obviously the animation's not as good as we viewed it in the 90s, but I mean, it's still, I mean, when you look at it for its time, I mean, nothing else had come out that looked like that with that in terms of quality. And there's great character development and great scripts and stories. And I mean, there's great action too.
Dark,
it's extremely
too,
violent for the time. Yeah. I mean, there's some really, really dark stuff. I mean, in the first main episode or second episode, we lose one of the main X-Men. Yeah. Morph they think he's killed. So, I mean, like that's something that you just didn't see a lot in children's television. So
did you guys get the Pizza Hut shit for X-Men? Do you remember that when they had the fucking VHS tapes and different promotional items?
Oh, I mean, I was there all the time. I mean, for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Rocketeer, I was there for every promotion. I was a huge, me, I was a huge Pizza Hut kid. So,
dude,
I probably didn't get that.
No, you weren't alive yet. And that's okay.
Brady, you weren't alive.
It was nice meeting you.
Get the fuck out of here. But no, it's always curious for me because I grew up huge into comics, and I don't read them as much now as I did as a kid, but I like a lot of the comic characters. I'm like huge into a lot of them. So it's always interesting to see, people's huge interests that they had that they grabbed from when they were kids.
X-Men, I don't think I was a bigger fan of anything in my life. I think for, my gosh, let's say from 1994 until 2005, I think I own every X-Men comic published, including miniseries, spin-off, whatever, just long box after long box of stuff. And I was so into X-Men that one day I just snapped. Toy Biz had put out a Weapon X action figure, and I wanted it so bad. I bought it, and I didn't know if I should open it or keep, because I was too old to play with it. But I was like, it was just something that just looked so cool. Toy Biz did a really good job on that figure. And I bought it, and I decided to keep it in the package and hang it on my wall. And next thing I know, my dad, who always was a goofball, he's like, "Hey, did you see they have a Rogue figure at Thriftway?" I was like, "No." And he's like, "You want it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And next thing you know, I have an X-Men toy collection. When I think most people I went to school with would have made fun of me if they knew I was collecting toys at that, in high school. So I got really into that to the point where in 1995, my mom bought me a computer, and I started learning about that whole internet thing. And I started designing a website about toy news. And there was only one other toy website online back then. And I think it was Sir Steve's Guide, which was a Star Wars based website. But I started doing all this toy news, and I would just dig into anything and post toy news. And I found out that a toy magazine called Tomart's Action Figure Digest was published maybe 40-minute drive away from where I lived. And I ran into the owner, and he saw my website and asked me if I wanted to come work for him when I was 18 years old. So that's what got me into publishing, which led to HorrorHound.
That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, that is.
Because I mean, like, I still collect toys.
Yeah,
I mean, I
same.
know
Yeah.
Jeremy collects toys, but I collect like I probably buy a new toy like every week. I'm surrounded. You guys can't see it in the video, but I've got totes and totes and totes all around me because I just moved a couple months ago and I'm lazy. And I do this show, which is the reason why. I'll just blame the show. But this is just all action figures from when I was a kid, then continued to growing up, just buying them. So I swear I feel like I probably must have looked at that website as a kid. Because, I mean, when you're a kid and the internet was first a thing, there's a couple things you're going to look at. Obviously, nudies. And then maybe if you're into, like, punk bands, I'm pretty sure I looked at, like, a Green Day website. But if you're into toys, which I was, and I never grew out of that, I probably looked at that shit, man. Like, you know, so that's amazing.
Yeah, it was
absolutely amazing.
It was funny. You may know the other website. The day that I was offered a job, the job I was offered was to develop a website for this company, but also do like image processing and other grunt work. The same day I was offered that job, I was offered a editor position at a website that was getting ready to launch. It hadn't launched yet, and that was figures.com.
Oh, of course.
And yeah. I turned that one down because it was a website and I wanted to publish.
Man, that's crazy. So I gotta ask, man, you like have a lot of plates spinning, and we just went through a huge pandemic, still going through it. How do you still like find the energy and I guess the inspiration to keep like something as big as HorrorHound, the convention, going? Like where you have all these other things where you could say, well, I got a book, I got the comics coming out. Like these are things that would be much easier to maybe focus on instead of this massive event. Like what keeps you going?
It wears you down. I can tell you that. I love creating. That's what I love. I like at this show we're gonna have a HorrorHound tiki mug, which that whole process of designing and getting that off the ground. I just yesterday and today I'm dealing with these cards that have to be printed, these little menu cards for the tiki mug, because in my mind a tiki mug's not enough. I also have to have a drink, a HorrorHound drink that has to be invented by a world famous mixologist, and I need swizzle sticks with the HorrorHound logo on them, and I need coasters. I can't just have it just be the tiki mug, so I'm literally working on all of this. And you know, a lot of times there are people helping, but I do have my hand in all of it. When it gets down to the last 40% of the work that needs to be done, I start just crashing. I get so tired of working on it. All I want to do is work on the next project. So that's why there's always more things coming, is because I'm so desperate to get away from the thing that I'm trying to finish.
I like that.
I need to constantly be working on something new, and it overlaps a lot. It just really does. The next thing you know, I mean, I can't believe we finished a comic book, and I was just on the phone with my partner Jeremy. We were discussing. We have a HorrorHound app that's launching this year. That's got movies, short films, music videos, all sorts of crazy stuff. All of our Q&A panels we record, I edit at our shows. So that app is going to launch, HorrorHound TV. And that's launching along with our brand new website, our digital magazine and books. And we have 2 films in production that we're producers on. We had the comic and the book released this year, our magazine, the 2 conventions, and I'm in the process of, for about 2 hours today, all I did was work on a big giant convention in California that's next year.
Yeah, I think I can probably guess which that one is.
I think I might know what it is.
Yeah. We don't have to.
I think I might know. Maybe I don't know. California next year.
So when do you think that you'll be able to discuss that?
As soon as there's 2 other people involved in the convention, and as soon as I get the okay to give more info. But anyone with I don't know, I don't want to say half a brain because that's mean.
anyone with convention knowledge we'll know exactly what show that you're
a little common sense.
alluding
Yeah,
to.
something cooking next year. And again, it's something I'm really excited about now. I'm sure once we reach, I don't know, July of next year, I'm going to be burnt down on it and trying to work on some new project.
I just imagine you like going through cubicles, being like, "Oh, anybody got something they need help with?" Just like grabbing people's stuff. Oh, I can help you with this. I got this.
That's awesome. Well, so okay, so question: out of all of your shows that you've done, who would you say that your most favorite guest that you've ever had attend your event is?
Can I give two answers?
Yes.
The nicest person we ever had that was the most professional, straight up kick-ass, just kick-ass, was Jamie Lee Curtis. She was just very forward, very controlled. I mean, talk about a woman that knows what the hell she wants. I mean, there is no questions asked. She laid out the terms for her appearance. She had never done one before, and it was just one of those things where you would think someone that has that much of a controlling nature would be a pain in the ass, but it was quite the opposite because she was doing everything she could to make it easier for us. I think the only time she got mad, the car service sent a limo to pick her up from the airport, and she did not want a limo. And we knew she didn't want a limo, and we told them no limo. And she was just like, I said no limo. But she was the nicest, just hands down. And like we ran into her like 3 years after that show, and she immediately remembered our names. You know,
That's cool.
Wow.
My favorite was Scott Wilson. I just love that guy. He was one of the few guys that would come back to the room, spend time, hang out, drink, just have a lot of fun. And so we had Scott at our show quite a lot of times. And if anyone wondered why he kept coming back, it was because we just wanted him there.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So who's the worst guest you've ever had?
Like he's gonna tell you that.
Cop out right now.
I'd love
is
to
say
hear
Gary
it.
I mean, if hold on. Well, hold on. Yeah. Well, hold on. If it's the worst, he's not bringing him back anyway, so fuck him.
There's a name that we actually kicked out of our show.
Okay. Like mid-show?
Like an hour into the first show, or into the show.
Wow.
In retrospect, I don't necessarily know that it was his fault. It could have been his manager's fault. I would rebook that person in a heartbeat. I would. So I won't say their name.
Can we get like an official HorrorHound list with the letterhead of who was not allowed at your shows? And not say that we publish it, but
there are at least two. There's two that are blacklist. And it doesn't necessarily mean they ever did our show to begin with.
they just never will.
Yeah.
Didn't Robert Zadar puke at his own merch table at your show?
No, I think that's a story that a lot of people told at our show, but it didn't happen at our show.
Okay, dude, I've heard that story.
On urban legend.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
No, it happened. It just wasn't at our show. I think our show was the next show he did. And so it was what was being talked about. He's a lovely guy. I remember my wife texted me. She was running the HorrorHound merchandise booth, and she says, "Get over here now. There's this guy who won't leave the booth, and you need to help." And I was like, "Okay." And I get over there, and it's Robert Zadar, and he's literally sitting on our table on top of all of our products. And I was like, dude, what's up? And he goes, "Oh, I asked to speak with you. I wanted to say hi." He was so super nice. But it was really funny because I thought for a second, oh man, this is going to be a headache. It was really funny. She was mortified. She runs that merch booth like it's a fine, 5-star store. And this guy's sitting there laying on all of her merchandise basically.
Yeah, I heard the story that okay, so it wasn't HorrorHound, but he was at his booth, and apparently had quite a bit to drink, and he had all these 8x10s in front of him and just puked on top of the table. So not your show. All right.
No, like I said, I heard the story too. I think it had happened right before our show. And I think that's why the story circulated at our show so much.
That's funny.
But I don't know. He was fine for us.
So before we jump into our top 5 movies that scared the shit out of us.
In other words, top 5 scariest horror movies.
Yes, that as well.
Easier to say.
Yeah. So what movies have you been watching, man? Have you seen anything good lately? It could be a rewatch.
Sure. Like modern stuff, like brand new. Like I saw Prey. That was fun. The I haven't watched any really old stuff lately. I like The Black Phone a lot. I loved X. X may be my favorite horror film of the year.
It's still my favorite of the year so far.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it's in the number 2 spot for me right now.
But yeah, I've been so busy. We just watched Jurassic World Dominion.
Oh.
I didn't hate it. I don't know why everyone hated on it so much. It was dumb dinosaur fun.
I could, if you listen to the episode that I did, you'd understand why I hated it.
But
I'm not going to relay that here.
Right now.
It's okay. It's okay. I love dumb dinosaur fun. I just didn't love that movie.
I hated the last one, so it was better than the last one for me.
Yeah, very fair.
But I don't know. I don't think I've watched anything old for the first time ever. I really want to go see Nope. That one's probably the number one I haven't seen.
It's great, man. Really,
yeah,
really
I think
good.
we all came out pretty positive on that one in our review episode for sure, and I went and saw it a couple times. So,
and that one
definitely check that one out.
That one weirds me out too because I've seen people completely shit on it, and I haven't seen it, but I still want to defend it.
I feel like anything that Jordan Peele puts out at this point, there's going to be people that say it's shit, because I feel like there's just people out there that are going to say no matter what he makes that it's not good.
Someone just said to me they cringe every time they hear someone say Jordan Peele's our modern day Hitchcock. And I just laughed really hard. I was like, it's excited young people. What do you can't get mad at them. I remember when I said the same thing about M. Night Shyamalan.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in from someone that watches a lot of movies, like pretty much every movie that comes out, I can defend that in the sense that really no one else is really trying to make movies the way Jordan Peele's making them, in the same way that Alfred Hitchcock made them back in the day. So it's a different, totally different social climate in terms of filmmaking in Hollywood right now. But for some weird reason, this guy's got a very strong personality in his films that's totally different than the other mainstream stuff we see. And yeah, I get it. It doesn't work for everybody, but still, it's original, it's different, and it definitely sparks conversation. And, Hitchcock's of his time. He was the only one like that making movies during that time, at least in the mainstream. So people just love to shit on stuff. And also, to defend the other side, people just love to put labels on stuff. People like to use the word masterpiece a lot today.
Yeah.
But, without much context.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty of that sometimes. I get really excitable when something new and really, really good comes out.
Did he just take the
took it right off
jab?
the table.
Did he really just
It's like
take
when
it?
you trip and before anybody else can say it, you say,
I wanted to see if you
what
take
much?
that.
Like,
Listen, I'm guilty of it myself. I'm
Masterpiece.
guilty of it myself.
It was
But
fucking
just saying.
flawless,
Like-
masterpiece.
It's all good though. But yeah.
Cool. So before one more thing before we take our little break, is there anything else you wanna talk about with HorrorHound coming up? I mean, dude, I'll throw something out there. We're premiering our documentary Fredheads at HorrorHound. So thank you for housing our premiere. We're really excited about it. Sunday, 1 p.m. at HorrorHound. Fredheads is premiering. Super, super excited about that. But dude, anything else you want to throw out about the show?
Yeah, I'd like one of the things I don't think we get a lot of promotion. I don't think we get in a lot of promotion for, because sometimes we don't have all the materials in time to do it, is our reunion photo ops that we do. I mean, I really feel like I should mention, like, we have that massive Hocus Pocus reunion, and if anyone who did our last show we did a Scream reunion, and you could get a photo with a screencast in front of a replica of, it was Stu's house, right?
By the way, that was I was extremely mad that I couldn't make it out for that because I just met a few of those guys this last weekend and it was in front of the most boring background ever. Not hating on Monster Mania, just saying after I saw people with that background, I was extremely jealous of that.
I have all the respect in the world for Monster Mania. It's one of my favorite shows to go to. But I refuse to do photo ops with my logo all over the photo ops. I don't think that that's fair to the fans for the amount of money that they pay. So we started. I hate to take a jab like that, but I again, all the respect in the world. But I really, really, really like putting a value on those ops, and we did the Halloween 3 op. We worked very closely with a friend of ours to develop that background, and it's hard to explain to the fans what these backgrounds are going to be, and they kind of have to take it in faith that it's going to be good. And I think anyone that took a chance on the Halloween 3 would have been walked away happy, because God, that was such a good background, the store display kind of replica. But for this show, for Hocus Pocus, we're developing the Sanderson sisters living room with the giant.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, the cages that the nerds are in are going to be hanging, or not the nerds, the bullies are going to be hanging.
Ice.
And a replica for Evil Dead, Ash vs. Evil Dead. We got the Evil Dead cabin. I'm going to reveal a guest that hasn't been announced yet. We're getting ready to add Millie Shapiro from Heredity.
Oh, God damn.
And she is doing a photo op with a telephone pole.
Wow.
Because everyone was going to ask, is there going to be a telephone pole? And they're joking, but no, there is.
There is.
It's
Dude,
just too. It's too good. And so we have
a Hereditary poster.
The Thing cast. As of this recording, we haven't put the groups up yet, and I'll explain why in a sec. But we're doing the dog kennel scene as the backdrop, with a special prop that's being donated.
I wonder where that's coming from.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude.
But yeah, I had to call earlier today, and I'm like, so David Clinton, is he in or out? And they're like, we bought half of his flights so far. I'm like, all right, then that means he's in. So now that we got David Clinton on board, we're able to get that reunion up. And David Clinton in The Thing, what was his name, Jeremy?
Palmer.
You gotta be fucking kidding me.
Dude, one of my favorite lines outside of that one from him, or actually in total in the movie, is when he's like, oh hell, I'll take you up there, Mac, and he goes, no, Gary's taking me. He goes, hey, thanks for thinking about it though. Like, dude, that fucking line makes me laugh out loud every single time I watch that movie. Like, he's probably, outside of McCready and The Obvious Child, he's probably my favorite character. I just love him in that movie, and he's the last living cast member that I've yet to meet. So meeting him is absolutely huge for me. So I'm really excited that you guys were able to add him. That's super exciting, and I can pretty much complete all of my items. So I'm really excited. So thank you, sir.
You're driving in, right?
Oh, I'm driving with the fucking dog monster creature in my car.
With the dog monster creature, with the KY jelly.
Yeah, with the
Drool
KY.
coming out the window and flapping all over that soccer mom's fucking front van window, and she's thinking something else is going on in the middle of that car. But yeah,
Like,
fantastic.
I think that dog's retarded or something. Did you see him? He was fucking weird looking. I know you're not allowed to say that word anymore. I know.
Hey, honey, something's wrong with the dog. Look at that dog. There's something wrong with the dog.
And what's crazy is that so my buddy that painted and built the dog monster for me, he put this coat of paint on it that it's always going to look wet like it looked in the movie. So it looks nice and slimy and disgusting and will look great in the photos.
I'm excited for you guys. It's gonna be great. Last time I went to Cincinnati, it sucked.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'm excited
That's
you're
nice.
not coming, bitch.
Oh, that's not nice. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick promo break. And then, of course, when we come back, we're going to be talking about our top 5 scariest horror movies or whatever Jeremy said about top 5 something
movies that
made you
scared
poop your pants or
movies
something.
that scared the shit out of yous.
Yeah. Out of use. We'll be right back.
Hi, this is Mikey.
And this is Maddie, and we are the Alone in the Dark podcast.
Join us on this nostalgic journey through horror where you will find top 5 themed podcasts
And audio commentaries curated for some of your favorite horror films.
If you're into celebrating the best films that came out during a certain year, then you'll really dig our class of episodes.
We even repurpose lines from your favorite horror movies to create a brand new story for our special In the World of podcasts.
We bring you something different each and every episode, so let us be your video store curators.
Fun is guaranteed, and there are never any late fees.
Remember, you're never really alone in the dark.
And we are back with our top 5 scariest horror movies, or as Jeremy liked to say,
Movies that scared the shit out of you, 5 of them.
the movies that made you take a gigantic dump on the fucking toilet. However you want to call it, this thing. This is what we're talking about. So, ladies and gentlemen, listen, these lists are our lists. So we all have those lists. You know, could it be from childhood, adulthood, when you were a teenager, that one time you had that date that didn't go so well. These are those movies, though, that scared the shit out of us.
Well, I mean,
so we're going to start.
Well, but before you even to jump into the list, you know, being a horror movie fanatic, a lifelong horror fan, once people find out that that's my thing, one of the first questions that they ask me is,
Yeah.
well, what movies actually scare you then? So it's kind of forced me to look at the films that I've seen and gone, okay, which ones really, really got me? So, you know, usually I could pull a couple off the top of my head, but doing a top 5 list, there were, you know, a few of these in here that I'm like, oh yeah, dude, this one, you know, when I started really thinking about it, I'm like, oh shit, this one really got me. And Nathan, I assume that, I mean, you run a horror website and horror convention, people inevitably have to ask you pretty frequently, like, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
No, not really.
No? Fuck. All right.
Wow.
Well,
I
I'm
get
asking you.
They ask me what my favorite is. I don't get asked what my which one scares me.
So what's your favorite?
Oh, Jaws.
Justin just met Steven Spielberg and got him to sign a Jaws poster.
Really?
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
I'm flexing for you, Justin.
I'm still on a high over it.
Well,
still on
what was the scenario?
He was there doing a screening of Raiders from the Lost Ark, and it was a live Q&A with Lin-Manuel Miranda. I even messed up the title of the movie because I'm sitting here thinking about it, like still nervous about the fact that I was going to stand outside and hopefully see him. So yeah, it was just a Q&A he did. It was like 30 minutes after the film, and then he came out and he actually approached some of the fans and stuff. So it was really amazing. Yeah.
In New York, right?
In New York City, yeah. It was right near the Bronx, actually.
That's impressive.
And not only just a regular poster, but it's a very extremely rare Paul Shipper Jaws print, which is one of my favorite prints ever. It's only like one out of, I think, 110 that were made. So, yeah, he liked it too. He commented that that's a great one. That's a nice one. So,
What would
Yes,
you have
lifelong
done
dream
if he
come
went
true.
to sign and like his pen went through and like made a hole in it? Or if he said, "What is this shit you're giving me?" and like crumpled it up, what would you have done? Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to say.
I just googled the poster that you're talking about, and I own that poster. So
Oh, awesome.
I
So
agree.
you're 1 out of 100 and whatever, right?
I got the one with the credits on it.
Yeah, I think it was like I got mine secondhand from a guy. It was an eBay thing, so I just remember that. It was really
I
cool.
bought it when it dropped.
Boom.
Boom.
Years way before my wife allowed me to buy
You're like-
anything.
I got mine signed by Spielberg. What were we talking about?
He's like, "Oh yeah, I can see the signature."
But
God
ladies and
damn.
gentlemen, we're going to jump into our lists here of our top 5 scariest horror movies. Brady, we're going to start with you.
You know, it's gonna
What
be
is your number
interesting,
5?
Like it always is, to see if there's a generational divide here in our lists. Everybody knows I didn't really watch horror movies growing up. I'd see some here and there when I wasn't supposed to. Didn't really get into them until I was an adult, though. But my number 5 is from 2003. I saw it on the Sci-Fi Channel probably when I was 10, 11, so 2005, 2006. It's Darkness Falls. You guys seen that one? Dude. Fucking
Yes.
scared the
Not
shit
since it came out.
out of me.
I haven't seen
That's
it.
the Tooth
Isn't
Fairy
that the
one.
Tooth Fairy
Yep.
movie?
The Tooth Fairy.
So,
Yeah.
for those who don't know, the main character Kyle witnesses his mother's brutal murder at the hands of a vengeful spirit when he's young. You get into the history. Darkness Falls had lynched a disfigured widow by the name of Matilda Dixon, whom the children referred to as Tooth Fairy because she'd give gold coins whenever they lost a tooth. 2 kids go missing, so the town lynches her, and her spirit then just exacts its revenge on the town. And Kyle goes back because his love interest brother is the new target of the Tooth Fairy. As a 10-year-old, this was fucking terrifying to me. There's parts of the movie where you find out that, like, the Tooth Fairy can't see light, so if you shine, like, a flashlight on her or anything like that, like, that's her weakness. But then the whole town just goes dark, and she's just, like, mauling people left and right. There's, like, a whole sequence where she's killing a bunch of, like, medical professionals while they're trying to get through, like, a lighthouse. Oh, my God. It makes it hard to sleep after watching that. I can't say that I've watched it again really since then because I don't know if it would hold up, and I kind of want to keep it in my mind as, like, one of the scariest movies I ever saw, but in that moment, I couldn't sleep. Like, it just stuck with me. I was like, I don't believe in the Tooth Fairy, but do I? Like,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that. I haven't seen it.
the scary
since it
thing
literally
too was
came
like
out.
she wore like this white mask because back when she got disfigured, she put the mask on, and that's what also like led to her lore and legend. And that mask is terrifying too. So just if you guys check it out, I mean, let us know if it holds up. But yeah, that's number 5 for me.
Yeah, I just remember they wanted to make that into a merchandisable film. McFarlane Toys did action figures. Dark Horse did a comic book. It was a weird one, but I do like movies like that, like Vanishing on 7th Street, where the darkness becomes
And,
a character.
I was looking it up today, and Chaney Clay plays the main character of Kyle, and I didn't realize that he like died back in 2007. Shortly after the movie, he was in The Shield on FX. Darkness Falls. He was born in Manassas, Virginia. Yeah, and then died at the age of 34 in 2007. So, crazy, man. Too young.
Too young. All right. My number 5 is one that scared the shit pretty much out of everyone from my generation. It's Tommy Lee Wallace's It from 1990. I remember seeing this movie when I was super young, and I didn't catch the whole movie the first time. My dad was watching it, which is really strange because my dad has never been a horror movie fan. But it's weird because every now and then he'll like watch a horror film, which is strange. Like he just told me he watched something that just came out, and I was like, damn, you watched that? So weird. Like, he doesn't like horror movies at all, and will randomly watch one here or there. And dude, It from 1990 was one of them, and I just remember that I was, he was in the basement watching it, and he didn't hear me come down the stairs, and I knew he wouldn't let me watch it, so I was like super quiet and was like just like standing like kind of like in the doorway watching it. And it was, I'll never forget the first scene that I ever saw from it. It was the scene of Beverly, which was Emily Perkins, and she's in the bathroom, and the blood is coming out of the sink, and Pennywise is talking to her through the drain. And I remember that my child brain was like, this is the scariest fucking shit I have ever seen in my entire life. And I don't even know if I watched the entire movie from that point on. I know I watched a good bit of it that I think I was like, all right, this is like too much for me. But the images from the scenes that I did see were just absolutely terrifying, and spent many, many nights afraid to go to sleep in my own room. And I was like, oh man, I can't tell my parents that I watched some of this movie because I wasn't supposed to watch this movie. So I just kind of was one of those things that I laid there until my body just went unconscious.
It's a good
So
one,
that's my
man.
number 5.
I think that hits for a lot of people.
Great pick.
Yeah.
Is it still scary?
No. No. I don't know, man. I feel like I'm fucking jaded now from all these movies. Like, it takes a lot for a movie to still shake me up these days. I mean, there's a couple on this list that, given if I would watch it in the right setting, like, yes, it would get me, but I don't think it is one that would still scare me.
So my number 5, I'm going to jump off here with a movie that most people that know the show, that know my taste, are not going to expect. Coming from 2007, it's a movie that Jeremy's mentioned on the show a few times.
The Thing.
And it's from Blumhouse, and it's also my least favorite genre when it comes to horror. Found footage. This is a supernatural horror film, produced, written, and photographed by Oren Peli. It's Paranormal Activity. And this is a movie I did not see in the theater because I, at the time, hated found footage, and I still don't care for it much. But a friend of mine wanted to rent it and watch it, and I watched it at home with them, and I was legitimately frightened. This is 2007, so I'm an adult when this movie came out. And I was extremely impressed by it. I mean, like, all the lights out in the house and got, the mood set. And, at that age, I'm like, nothing's going to scare me. Nothing's going to frighten me. And there were a few moments that really got me on the edge of my seat. And sometimes with new horror movies, like, they'll get me a few times. But this movie had me from the moment that it started. And I really appreciate that about it. Not since has a found footage movie affected me in the same way. But I had to, due diligence, I have to be as honest as possible with this list. This is a movie that most definitely affected me and creeped me out. So, when you're a horror fan, that's that question you mentioned earlier, Jeremy. People ask you that question. Well, if you love horror, then what movies have scared you? And barely any, to be completely clear. I watch these things because I enjoy them. It's basically like an orgasm that I get watching them. But, we all love different things, different strokes, different folks, as you will. But this movie most definitely got me. So that's my number 5. And, of course, moving on to our guest here, Nathan, what is your number 5?
Well, it's funny. The reason I had asked if it still scared Jeremy was when you guys told me the subject of this list. I was trying to find the 5 that's, to this day, I would have difficulty watching by myself at 2 a.m. by my in the dark. And before I cut it down, Paranormal Activity was literally just on the skirt of making the list, and it was because those found footage films, just there's something about them, they bring you down to reality, like Blair Witch Project did. But I cut the list down to 5. Number 5, I'm gonna go with a movie that's pretty damn new still, 2014. It Follows.
Ooh, great film. Great
Love
soundtrack.
that movie.
Amazing soundtrack, right? And it was, I remember watching it, and I don't, in any given year, I think if I'm lucky, there's 2 horror films that really take you by surprise and shock you that they were that damn good. And what I really like with movies in general is when they can surprise the hell out of you. Like, you just don't expect them to do things that movies typically don't do. And when that movie kicked in with the ghostly, the girl becomes cursed and has this thing following her at all times unless she can get rid of it, it really was done in a manner that just freaked me the fuck out. Like, I cannot watch that one by myself. To this day, I just can't. It's too much. Once that she opens that door and the man comes running at her, oof, I'm done.
He just like fills the
tall
room.
guy that creeps under the door.
Yeah.
God,
terrifying.
That's a great one. Well, I guess I'll go next, right? I guess I'll just follow it
You're
up.
number 4, Brady.
Sorry, I was thinking.
Let's see if you can follow that shit up, bro.
Watch that soon. Number 4 for me is one that falls in line with this. So, I still, watching it now, get pretty scared. And it's one of those things where, like, when you walk down the hallway to bed afterwards, you're kind of looking behind you or walking a little faster to turn the light off. But it's from 2010, James Wan's Insidious. And I just watched it over the COVID quarantine because it was on Netflix. And I had told Justin I was watching it, and he's like, dude, you have to turn off all the lights in your house. Like, don't have a single light on watching this. And I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm a fucking big boy. I got my big boy pants on. So my wife, who hates horror, was at work, or not at work. She was out at her brother's house helping with their son, and
just admit it. She was out at the bar
there were no
getting
bars
wasted
open.
because she didn't want to hang out with you. All right.
Not
There were
anywhere else.
bars
Anyways,
open. You just had to
turn
find
this
them.
on, and wow, just like, I think a lot of people love The Conjuring, rightly so. Very scary film, atmospheric, but it's Insidious for me. When I think of his movies that really just resonate with me, it freaked me the fuck out. Like, from the moment the title appears on screen with those high strings, I was instantly in a state of panic, right? I think it does a really good job of creating this sense of dread and unease. And Joseph Bishara pulls some heavy double duty with creating the near perfect score in every scene, and then playing the main red-faced demon. I just think that imagery alone too, like where it appears right behind Patrick Wilson's head, God, like it just, I know to expect it now, but I still
iconic.
jump whenever I see it. And then even when they get into the stuff with like the astral plane and the further, I think it's done it in an effective way where it doesn't go off the deep end in the first film, and it's still somewhat believable. Like, oh, this is a new take on where these demons come from or where they go, or in these souls. And then lastly, just that fucking Tiny Tim song that is going, yeah, oh, God. Like, even you singing it now, I just have like the heebie-jeebies, man. It's like, and then that scene where the demon is like sharpening his claws in the shadows with that song going, and that, can you just imagine that fucking thing chasing you down the hallway? Like, you turn the light off to go to your room, and then you look, and that thing is just there.
And instead, it
My
was
naked
you running
dad.
into your
Yeah.
dad's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a story you've missed.
It didn't happen
you
for
missed,
this one.
Nathan.
Can I
Yeah.
can I make a comment on Insidious? I love Insidious. But I've always considered it a very clever, somehow got away with it remake of
I
Poltergeist.
could see that. Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah.
Because it really, if you think about the point-for-point breakdown of that film, it really is Poltergeist, but it's just done in a different kind of it's like singing a song with a different
Oh my
instrument.
God.
You
Yeah,
know?
now that you mentioned that, I watched Poltergeist, like rewatched it shortly after Insidious, and I was like, I feel like I've seen this before. God.
Yeah.
Are you telling me you watched
No,
Poltergeist
I had
after you
rewatched
seen
Poltergeist after
Insidious?
Insidious. I had seen Poltergeist previously.
I was going to say, how dare you? But I forgot that you
Yeah.
grew up Mennonite in an Amish school.
saw
and you
Poltergeist.
milked cows and shit, and rode horse and buggy and all that stuff. but,
Fucking
you know.
dude, I love Poltergeist so
Yeah.
much. Thank you, Lloyd Kaufman.
But yeah,
love
that's
his
number 4
songs.
for me. What you got, Jeremy?
Dude, this was a made-for-TV movie. It was a fake documentary. It came out before the film that it was pretty much introducing came out. Dude, I'm talking about The Curse of the Blair Witch that hit Sci-Fi Channel. It was a documentary before the Blair Witch Project actually came out. There was a huge hype machine behind it. And, you know, if you guys remember, Brady, you won't because you weren't alive, but if you guys remember, when Blair Witch came out, part of their marketing strategy was to make you believe that what you're watching is real found footage, that it's actual tapes, that these filmmakers, the tapes got found and this is what happened to them. So Sci-Fi Channel had Curse of the Blair Witch that came out maybe a week or two before the movie came out. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, well, this movie called The Blair Witch Project is about to come out, and it's, like, real. Everything that happened in it is real. And what creeped me out is that I live in Virginia, and Maryland is right next to us. So I'm like, okay, so there's some scary shit with the witch in the woods in Maryland that's not that far from my house. I'm already kind of creeped out by this. So then, have any of you seen this documentary? No?
Yeah.
It's possible. Prior to seeing the film, it sounds familiar, but I mean, it's hard to tell. It was a long time ago.
I watched it at I was, in middle school, right? Because Blair Witch came out in 99, so I was in middle school. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and I'm watching this, and dude, it's a faux documentary about events that never really happened, but portrayed to be that they really happened. And dude, it got me. I would wager as far as to say that this Sci-Fi Channel documentary scared me more than the Blair Witch Project. Like, creeped me out. I could not go to sleep that night. And like I said, I was in middle school and I was like, yo, I am so scared. So then, I'm going to be honest with you, like, I'm okay with the Blair Witch Project. I actually prefer the most recent one that came out. I think it came out in like 2016. I prefer that one over.
You like Adam Wingard's movie better?
Absolutely.
Really?
I like Wingard's movie more than the original. I don't hate the Blair Witch Project, but I'm not someone that is like a tremendous fan of it. I'm not like, oh, that movie's fucking great. My buddy Kellen,
Yeah.
our
You
listeners,
guys went and visited the location.
yeah,
recently.
our listeners know who Kellen is. He came out here and he was pumped because he fucking loves the Blair Witch Project. He's like, we're gonna go to the film locations. I'm like, all right, yeah, man, that's cool. It wasn't something that I was like super into, but
They're cool to look at, though. I mean, I went
Yeah,
and did
for
them a
sure.
few years ago, too. They're really
for
cool.
sure. But so when I watched Blair Witch when it came out, I would say I was almost disappointed because I thought that the documentary that came out on Sci-Fi Channel was actually scarier than the movie that was released in theaters. So that's my number 4, man. If you guys
And before
you guys should
before I get to
totally
mine.
yeah, you guys should totally check out Curse of the Blair Witch.
I will. This is just an admission I've made on, well, I've probably made it on this show. I've also made it on like 50 other podcasts. The Blair Witch Project was the first movie of my entire life where I was not a toddler, where I fell asleep in the movie theater to it. So there's that. Just being honest. And I woke up and was like, what? And someone was like, dude, you didn't miss anything.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. You don't see nothing. But as an adult, I won't even lie, though, because when COVID hit and shit and you couldn't do anything, I was like, well, I lived like an hour away from most of the locations. So I was like, grab my daughter, who at the time I think was 16, and my wife. I'm like, let's go look at them. We can just go take pictures and there's not going to be any problem. And we went and we looked and it was a lot of fun, matching up the locations from the photos from the film. And then we got home and we rewatched it. And I definitely have way more appreciation for it as someone that's been reviewing and watching movies for the past 10 years than me being like, you said you were in middle school. I think you're a year before me, Jeremy. So I was like a freshman in high school when I saw that movie, and I was like, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes there are movies that you'll revisit much, much later in your life and you'll appreciate. And sometimes there's movies that you revisit that you loved when you were younger and they don't work for you anymore. So, my number 4, my son, my young son here, B-Ratty. He already mentioned the movie, but it is Insidious from 2011 from our Lord and Savior, James Wan, who also directed Malignant, which Jeremy loves with a deep passion. He's going to get a Malignant tattoo on his back and a whole portrait and everything. But no, I mean, this movie, like Brady said, I told him to watch in the dark. And I remember when I rented this movie, it's another one I didn't see in the theater. Look how bad I sound on this show. I'm like this theater guy, like Alamo Justin. I didn't see this one in theaters either. But no, I mean, it was a movie. I red boxed this fucking shit. Back in the time when you'd say, man, I red boxed that. And I was all alone, no date that night or anything. I think I was dating Danielle and she was at her parents or something. And I turned all the lights out and I watched them like, let's see if this fucking thing does anything to me. And it scared the ever living fucking shit out of me. I was like looking around corners and shit in my shitty apartment in the ghetto. And I was like, oh man, this is absolutely blew me away. I think that was most definitely my first real introduction to Juan in terms of like knowing it was him and having some anticipation that knowing he had worked on other movies prior to that. Obviously, I'd seen Saw in theaters and stuff. But this is a movie that I think still holds up today, where I can continue to watch it. I mean, granted, like I think they're on the 5th sequel right now. I think Patrick Wilson just got done finishing like the 5th movie. As a director, so we'll see. I don't know. I didn't really care for many of the sequels or anything, but this movie for sure, original, and that demon and that design and everything. I mean, I know people like to meme it like it's Darth Maul, and it definitely is Darth Maul with like a more like, I don't know, dready fucking reggae Rasta haircut and shit. But whatever. It's awesome. So yeah, it's my number 4. And Nathan, what do you got for your number 4? Yes, sir.
I have to keep track. I changed.
Don't worry, we'll remind you.
I keep flipping whether or not I'm gonna go one way or the other. For this one, it's it's a classic one. And it's funny because the last one I said I can't watch by myself at 2 a.m. This one I could though, but I'm still putting it ahead of It Follows. Is 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
I just rewatched it recently.
Amazing remake.
I love that
There's
movie.
something about that film, the way it's done. I remember just anytime I watch it, it's one of those films that you know, honestly, when I grew up, I always thought to myself, there's no way something like this could happen. But over the last 5 years, let's say, if it's felt like the world's changed in a manner to where sometimes it does feel like aliens came down and took over half the population's brains. So that it always scared me, the idea of something like that you could have your personality, your entire being taken away from you, stripped down to just a body. And I don't know, it seems scarier today than it did when I first watched it.
You know, I actually haven't seen that one.
Here's a question though, because I love the original and I love the remake.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you prefer? I assume the remake?
The remake. I love the original. It's got that fun banter. It's kind of like when you talk about John Carpenter's The Thing versus the original Thing from Another World. The original's fun for a different reason. It has a fun dynamic with the actors, the way that they phrase their dialogue in the film. It's very of its era, and
perfectly put.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not scary. I will say the first time I went to LA, I was being taken around to all these filming locations, and Sean Clark was taking me around. I think it was a coffee shop that was used in one of the Halloween films. And I stopped. I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't care about no coffee shop. Am I looking at the stinking town square from Invasion of the Body Snatchers down there? And he laughed. He goes, oh yeah, that's the town square. It was so iconic looking. Just looking down, if you've ever been out there, if you look down the hill above where I'm talking the original one with Kevin McCarthy.
When they look out the window and they see all the people,
the trucks
crowded around it, yeah,
taking the pods out, it still looks the same. And I was that's the first movie location I ever went to where I was like, oh shit. But yeah, I like them all. I even like the some of the modern. I don't know if they're remakes or not, but.
Well, there's the one with James Bond in it, and then there's Nicole Kidman, yeah.
Dude, I just rewatched that one recently too, man. I apparently had a body snatcher kick lately. That one's a good one too, man.
Sweet.
Hell yeah. So we're moving along here, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go to our number threes, and Brady, you are up with your number three.
This is another one from childhood, and I don't know if it's because I still find the movie genuinely scary or because of the trauma attached to it for me. But I come from a very big extended family, and so when I was adopted into my dad's family, his sister has 7 kids. The youngest was a year older than me, so it was us always hanging out, and then his older siblings, my older cousins. There was like 11 years between me and his older sister, so we were constantly like always wanting to hang out with them, but they're like, no, we don't want to hang out with you. They're going through their teen years, and we're 6 and 7. So one day, his sister was like, hey, why don't you guys come in here and hang out with all of us? And so we were like, oh, cool. Like, we're finally getting to the big kid table, so to speak. And once we go in the room, it was a trap because another sister shut the door and locked it. And then the other siblings took us and held us down and forced us to watch George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. And the graveyard scene with Barbara, just, oh, they're coming to get you, Barbara. I can't not freak out when I see that on whatever commercial or rewatching it. And it's just, I honestly don't think that zombies, or in this movie's case, ghouls, were ever done better. Obviously we have. Technology has evolved, CGI has evolved, you get these crazy zombies. But I think for this movie, they're so terrifying to me. And I don't know if it's the black and white or it's just I had never seen one before. That was my first interaction with a zombie movie. And then
I can't watch that movie in
No.
color. No. I know that they've done different editions with it in color. I can't I can't watch that movie in color. Like I remember one time I was like, cool, I'm gonna watch it in color this time, and I watched like 20 minutes of it, and I was like, no, I'm gonna restart it in black and white. Like, I can't do this.
When I watched it, older, when I was like, I'm just gonna sit down and like watch the whole movie on my own. Like it really makes a turn about midway through where it stops being kind of that fun, silly B movie and turns into something extremely terrifying, and then you don't even get any satisfaction at the end because your hero dies. He comes out of the fucking cellar and gets shot, and then his body's thrown in the fire. Like there's no positive outcome in it. And so I think for me, it's like it's terrifying in the humanity aspect of it, and also like the isolation, the pure isolation. Like these things are coming back to life and killing you. Like, oh.
Have they ever said in Dawn of the Dead, when they're in the helicopter and they're on their way to the mall and they pass over like that southern kind of landscape, have they ever connected that to Night of the Living Dead? Like they're going over some of the areas that Night of the Living Dead took place in, like where the sheriffs and the townspeople are and shit like that. Because I don't know, every time I watch Dawn of the Dead, I like when they go over that town and there's all the rednecks with the guns and they're out hunting the zombies. I always like to think like, oh, right in this point they're passing like where the events of Night of the Living Dead just happened. I don't know if they've ever come out and said that, but just when I watch it, that's kind of what I feel, and I kind of dig.
I agree with you, but I don't recall them mentioning it anywhere.
That's my number 3, guys. Night of the Living Dead. Head of me.
Great pick, dude.
Yeah.
Head of me-us. So my number 3 is a movie that Ann and I watched, and my wife and I watched right when it came out in 2011. We watched it in the middle of the day, but we had the curtains closed and the living room was all blacked out. So even though it was like middle of the day, it was still kind of dark in my house. We got the blacked out curtains going on. This movie scared the shit out of both myself and my wife. And it's very unusual for a movie to get me like that, especially if I'm watching the movie like next to someone. Like, you got somebody that you can talk to, that you can, be like, oh my God, did you see that? That was so scary. It kind of takes you out of the movie and out of the scare factor sense. A lot of times, for me at least. I'm talking about Grave Encounters from 2011 that was directed by the Vicious Brothers. I don't know if you guys have seen this movie.
Never.
Dude,
No.
it is another... So, dude, they made 2 of them. So the first one did well enough that they actually made a sequel, and the sequel is a straight-up John Carpenter's Halloween 2. It, literally it picks up, right from where the first one ends, and it ties perfectly into the first one, and everything goes full circle. But 2011's Grave Encounters is another found footage trope film. It's about a reality ghost hunting crew that they lock themselves in an abandoned mental hospital that's supposedly haunted, and it might prove to be all too true. This movie has some of the best gags and scares ever. This is Nathan, you said earlier that there's some movies that you would be afraid to watch in the dark by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
This is one for me. For sure, because, dude, jump scares are often cheap, but if they're done the right way, they can be brilliant. And this movie is not just jump scares; it's terrifying imagery. There's a sense of hopelessness, because, not to give too much away of the film, so people can check it out, but the deeper that these people have gone into this mental hospital, the more they can't find their way out. The mental hospital becomes so haunted that literally they're unable to find the front door, and it's just becomes a maze, and there's just no way out, and there's these terrifying ghosts and apparitions that are just taking them out. And oh man, it's I can't say enough great things about this movie. I fucking love it. I own both movies, but would I watch this by myself at nighttime? Absolutely not.
I gotta check that out, man.
It's really good, man. Really, really good. And the sequel, you can't sometimes you just can't replicate what made a film so great through a sequel. The sequel it's a really, really fun, good film. It's a great ride, but that first film is genuinely terrifying, in my opinion.
I'll have to add it to my list. I've never actually. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I heard the title before, but I've never seen it. So
the filmmakers, man, they made a really fucking trippy alien movie too. Hold on, I'm gonna pull it up. They made Extraterrestrial that came out in 2014, which is a wild alien movie. Like, really, really well done as well. So once you guys watch Grave Encounters 1 and 2, watch Extraterrestrial after that.
Sweet.
all right. Well, moving on. My number 3 is a movie that is another new one, and another one from our Lord and Savior James Wan. I'll never forget watching this movie. The day before it came out, it was right around midnight, and myself and the god of podcasting himself, Loy Sauce, had the ability to close down a theater, a huge theater, and lock that shit up and watch the movie all to ourselves in like a very scary fucking setting and pitch black. All the lights are off, and you just clicked a button and you played the movie. And The Conjuring 2. And I still think that this movie bests the first movie. I think that the scares are better. I think the atmosphere is better. I think the story is better. And obviously Wan, when you watch his movies continuously, I mean, one after another, you can see how he builds and matures. And I think this movie, still to this point, at this point right now, as we're sitting here talking about this, is still my favorite of his more recent horror movies he's made. And by far one of my favorite horror movies of the last 10 years. I just was absolutely blown away by what he did with this movie in terms of the emotional connection to the characters and really just building suspense and creating, or I should say, attempting to create iconic horror characters, which we see people attempt to revitalize horror characters that we grew up loving, but it's very few and far between when it comes to filmmakers trying to create new horror icons. We talked about that a couple weeks ago, Jeremy, on the show, that people try to sometimes, like Art the Clown's one. They try to, they're trying, and sometimes they fail, sometimes they succeed. But horror fans are fickle, as we know, and sometimes they just don't fall for it, or sometimes it's just not what they want, and sometimes it is what they want. And I just feel like this movie was a huge success. I think it was great for mainstream audiences as well as hardcore horror fans, and this is one of my favorite movies. So The Conjuring 2 from 2016.
Nice, man.
James Wan is at number 3.
Number 3. Did you? What were your thoughts on part 3 of The Conjuring?
Those are better left unsaid for now.
I will
Unless
tell you
want me
that
to have
I'm
an
pretty sure at
aneurysm.
one point Justin was crying in the theater next to me, and it wasn't because he was scared.
It was not tears of fear or of sadness. They were tears of anger.
The quote from Justin that night in the theater that everybody could hear was, "What the fuck are they doing?"
Remember that?
I forgot you were.
We
I
took
forgot
John
you were there
McCoy
for that,
too.
dude. Or Brady, sorry. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's who it was. John was there.
That comment about the last movie you fell asleep during, that was Conjuring 3 for me.
That perfect one to take a nap through. And I actually gave that one a second shot, too. I watched that shit twice.
Oh.
Like, sometimes, like, I want to give a movie a fair shake, and sometimes if I'm, there's some hype built up, unknowing hype. We all go into movies differently. And so I went into that one with as much anticipation as possible, and I failed with that. So, yeah, things happen. But so we'll move along to you, Nathan, for your number 3.
My number 3. The journey to this movie is a very odd one for me. My number 3 is 1981's Evil Dead. Woo. And I will tell people, sometimes when the discussion of, no one's ever outright, I can't recall people outright asking me what's your favorite scary movie, but the topic has been brought up as an overall group discussion before. And if I ever mention Evil Dead, I kind of get laughed at, like, what are you talking about? That movie's funny, and it's hilarious to me that people can't seem to separate Evil Dead from its sequels. But I had never seen Evil Dead growing up. I was in high school, and a buddy of mine had asked me if I had seen Army of Darkness, and I said no. And the next day he brought me a VHS copy of it and said, "You got to watch this." And I watched it. I was like, "It was fucking awesome, thanks." And he's like, wasn't it just the perfect sequel to Evil Dead 2? And I said, "I've never seen Evil Dead 2." And he's like, "What the fuck?" And so the next day he brings me a copy of Evil Dead 2. And I was like, "Well, I've never seen Evil Dead." And he's like, "I don't think it fucking matters at this point, man."
Oh my god.
And so I watched Evil Dead 2 and I loved it. And the funny part is, the reason why I've never seen Evil Dead is because the video store I grew up with, it had Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, but Evil Dead was always rented out. And I couldn't rent Evil Dead 2 if I hadn't seen Evil Dead. One day, maybe a year after I had now seen all three of the films, I walked into my video store. They were having a going out of business sale, and they were getting rid of all their tapes. And it was getting down to the nitty-gritty at a certain point. And they have the box still, but the tape, it's like for 10 years, no one returned this damn movie. And they still had the stinking box there, and it's still in perfect condition. And I just asked the owner, I was like, "Can I just have this? You guys have never had it in stock." And he goes, "Oh shit, that's been out there this whole time?" I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, someone returned the tape. It was their machine. It said it ruined their machine, so I didn't put it back on." And he goes, "It's actually in the back if you want it, but it's at your own risk." And he had this damn tape sitting in his back this whole time for 10 years. And he just let me have it. So I bought the copy from my home video store. I get home, I put it in, it played perfectly. But that was one of those movies. It scares the crap out of you. The Deadites taking over all of Ash's friends and his girlfriend, sister. Just as the movie goes on, it's so fucking creepy. Because it was a playful creepy, and I had never seen that in a movie before, where the demons didn't just take over and try to kill you; they were fucking with you first.
Yeah.
And there's something about that just really resonated with me, and to this day, it still gives me the creeps when they're just sitting there possessed, making these little jokey. Which maybe people do think it's funny, but I think it's creepy.
No,
so that's my pick.
I couldn't agree more. We've talked about it on the show a little bit before. I'm not the biggest fan of Evil Dead 2. I understand it's a completely different type of movie than the Evil Dead set out to be. But when I want to watch something from the Evil Dead franchise that genuinely scares me and keeps me in my seat, it's the original. Like, I think that they just hit it on the head. And you just did too with everything you said. It's just a genuinely creepy film that just descends into this chaos where the demons are fucking with Ash and his friends, and then they're going through these grotesque, gruesome deaths or dismemberments, and it's similar to Night of the Living Dead for me. There's just this feeling at the end of just loss, like nothing, right? Like there's no positive outcome, really. So, great movie, great pick.
I think that's one of the scariest scenarios, is being in a very awful place and not being able to get out of it. That the place won't let you leave. There's just something inherently spooky about that.
Well, the Eagles wrote about it in Hotel California, so
I think all 5 of my picks kind of have that theme through it. They're all horrors people can't escape.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, great pick. Oh man, I gotta follow that up. All right, well, my number 2 is not The Evil Dead. It's The Exorcist, and again, I saw this one as an adult, and
At number 2?
What's
wrong with you?
It's funny, I come from such a religious upbringing, and, I don't really have any religious inclinations now in my life, but these movies still have this weird psychological hold on me where it's like, I don't necessarily believe in this stuff, but like it's still affecting me in ways that other movies don't. And this one, I talk about the imagery in these movies a lot, but like there are moments still like right now currently that I can close my eyes to brush my teeth or go to bed, and the demon Pazuzu is just there, and I can see it, and it's like, holy shit, and like it scares me, and like my heart starts beating really fast. I feel short of breath, and like I never had that before this movie. And then, you know, similar to Evil Dead, the demon inside of Reagan is toying with the priests and is mocking them during this whole thing. You know, there's the crucifix masturbation, there's your mother sucks cock in hell, there's the puking everywhere, and the demon's just toying with these priests and making fun of their faith, and it's just, oh my god, it's unsettling. And, you know, Jeremy, Justin, we lived, you know, all near DC, and
I took Nathan there, actually.
Yeah, the stairs.
I took Nathan to the stairs.
I remember you texting me the day that you took him to the stairs.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, man, because it's like, you know, there are situations like Evil Dead or whatever where it's, you know, a cabin in the woods or this remote location, but going to the stairs that were in the film where it's like, oh shit, like this gives it this sense of being
It's a heavy
real.
populated area where people are walking by, you know, day in and day out constantly. It's very rare to walk by those steps when there's no one there.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to get a picture on those steps, it's almost like there's at least one fucking person running up and down those steps or something.
Yeah, when we were there, we walked up and down the steps, and I thought as we were there the whole time there was all these joggers going up or down, and I was like, how the fuck can anyone get to the top of these steps and not fall over?
Well, they're steep. Yeah, they're all jaggedy too. They're not like straight. They're not like new. They've never redone them. It's, as far as I can tell, because I tried to run up them one of the last times I was there, and I was hammered too. I made it. I should have busted my fucking face though.
I took Kellen there when we went and saw the Blair Witch stuff.
Did you run up the steps?
Dude, no. But there was some old dude that it was hot as fuck outside. He had on like a Rocky Balboa like sweatsuit on.
Dude, tell me he had a headband on.
Dude, he had absolutely he had a headband on. Absolutely he had a headband on. And he was running up and down the stairs, and so like Kellen was like, hey, do you wanna like how do we want to take this picture? And I was like, dude, let's just do a selfie once that guy starts running up and he's like out of the way. And he was like, I kind of want to ask that guy when he comes back down to take our picture.
Yeah, of course he did. Of course.
And I'm
did.
like, all right, if you want to, you know. And so the dude came back down and Kellen was like, hey, would you mind taking our picture real quick? And he goes, I'm going to run up the stairs one more time, not during my exercise, but I'll take it for you when I come back down. So then I'm like, Kellen, let's just take the selfie, man. And he was like, nah, man. He said he'll take it. I was like, God damn it. So you have to wait for this old man that's like in this sweat jumpsuit at 100 degrees.
Listen, think about this logically. You just said old man, and he's running up those steps, and he's old. That means it's working for him. Ladies and gentlemen, a point of contention. Do what that old man's doing, because you'll be old still and alive. Run up the Exorcist stuff. You won't fall and die.
I didn't think he was going to take our picture, not because he didn't want to. I didn't think he was going to fucking make it. Dude, those stairs, like you guys were saying, are like so steep. Like, dude, even just walking up those stairs, I'm like, oh my god, I'm out of shape. This is horrible.
Well, those are the mozzarella sticks, Jeremy. That's not the steps, dude.
I do like me some mozzarella sticks.
Some mozzie sticks.
That's a great pick. It's way too low, though. I'm just saying. You're gonna get bent over my knee when I see you next, and a bare ass slapped. I don't care. It's gonna happen.
That's why I picked it. Just for the slap.
Because you wanted the
Because
slap.
I wanted the slap.
I'm gonna jump
that's
into
me. All right,
on the imagery of you spanking Brady's bare ass.
Well, you'll see it in a few weeks at Camp Blood, ladies and gentlemen.
Nobody will be seeing
We'll do it
bare
at
ass.
Mahoning Drive-In. We're going to do a live show. Fuck the movies that it'll be playing. You're going to see me in front of the screen spanking B-Ratty's bare ass.
All right, so I'm gonna jump into my number 2, which is the plot is a mother raising 4 children alone in a house plagued by a supernatural spirit. Ladies and gentlemen, I am talking about The Conjuring 2.
There it is.
Dude, this movie, there has only ever been 2 movies in theaters that have shaken me to my core and scared me. And they are my top 2 picks. And Conjuring 2 scared me. I'm a grown-ass dude. I'm already, I'm married at this point when I'm watching this movie. Me and my wife are in this packed...
You're a bona fide horror expert.
Yeah,
man.
dude.
You're on top of the world.
This theater is completely pitch black. It's packed full of people. It's a sold-out screening. The movie had just come out. I liked the first Conjuring quite a bit. It was very creepy, but it didn't shake me. It didn't scare me. I'm like, oh yeah, you know, it was a great movie though. So I go into this thinking I'm going to get another just great horror film, and what I got was a terrifying experience. Conjuring 2 got me. I found points in the movie where I didn't realize I was holding my breath, but I was holding my breath. I was on the edge of my seat. I was digging my fingernails into my fingers. It really, really got me. Somebody tried to fight me in the fucking movie. That was, that doesn't play into the scary factor, but this dude was like walking down the aisle and like couldn't find like where his friends were sitting, so he literally turned the flashlight on his phone and was shining it in people's faces to try and find the row that his friends were sitting in. And he shined the light in my face, and I was like, come the fuck on. He's like, the fuck are you gonna do about it? I was like, not a goddamn thing.
Nothing at all.
Nah, I don't want that heat. If you're brave enough just to put a light in somebody's face and then say, what the fuck are you gonna do about it? Nothing. You got it, man. Good luck with your search party. So yeah, dude, I mean, the movie is just the imagery. And, when people think of The Conjuring 2, they think of The Nun. The first time you see the Nun's introduction. And the Nun is great, and she's scary. But she's like one of those creations that like was concocted to be scary. You know what I mean? It's like, let's take a nun, but make it a demon nun, right? I like the Nun, but the ghoul in this movie, the ghost in this movie that really fucking got me was that old man.
The old man, yeah.
Jesus.
That resonates with everybody.
That's my house.
Think about that,
What are you doing in my house? What are you doing in my house? Jesus, dude. I remember looking at my wife and was like, oh my God, this is fucking terrifying. And I had only experienced a film that got me like that one other time in my life. And I just didn't think that at where I was in my life at that time that it was even possible for a movie to fucking scare me like that. But it did, man. It did. And, again, when people ask me, what are some of the scariest movies you've ever seen, I always tell them The Conjuring 2. Great movie, and if you've never seen it, it's one that you have to watch in the dark. No lights on.
No lights on. I see a doggo. I see a dog.
Guys. Can't stop the dog.
Listen, I have 4 of them.
Nathan can't stop.
I'm with
doggy.
you. I'm with you. If I recorded upstairs still, yeah, they'd be all over me all the time. So no worries. We're dog lovers here. We're all except for Brady. He doesn't. He has cats.
He's a little cat bitch. A little bitch
Here's
cat.
Here's the thing.
Motherfucker.
I love dogs. I like the idea of having a dog. I do not have a lifestyle that would accommodate a dog. So
I didn't know you had a lifestyle. Thanks for.
yeah, it includes not taking care of a dog.
It includes nothing.
Brady, be honest with everybody. The reason that you don't have a dog is because you came over to my house and my dog puked all over the place, and you were like, you know what?
Oh my God!
I don't want.
You
want to
talk about House of Horrors? Going to fucking Jeremy's house and his dog looking me in the eyes and going, and just puking all over the place. I mean, like, exorcist puking. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's just Blake. He's old. He does that.
Dude, and the worst is that at the time, so, God rest both their souls, we had 2 dogs that lived to be 14. And so at the same time, so that was my dog that barfed in front of Brady. He was Black Lab.
That's my dog.
And Ann's dog, that was also, of course, my dog, was a Pomeranian, and he had Cushing's disease. I don't know why I'm laughing because it's fucked up, but he would go.
No, it's terrible. My boy Paws had Cushing's.
Dude,
too.
He would go.
Sucks.
So you got my fucking Black Lab that was and puking, and then you'd have the tiny dog that was making noises, and Brady's like, dude, I don't ever want a dog.
That's there's a couple other reasons.
There's only one dog he wants, and it's our Lord and Savior. Excuse me, James Wan, I'm pushing you out for the moment. There's only 2 people on this planet that know the true Lord and Savior. His name is Melonhead, and he lives next to the Colonial Theater where they shot the original The Blob. Which, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this, I'm showing for Terror Tuesday next month. The original is Steve McQueen. That's right. I'll give you. I'll post the date and shit. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. I'm not just doing another 80s slasher. I'm showing The Blob.
That's a great movie.
Justin, you keep saying that James Wan is our Lord and Savior, but everybody knows that Jesus was a carpenter. John Carpenter. Just saying.
All right, that's
he ain't
enough.
making movies right
Whose
now.
pick is it?
Is he?
Come on.
Is he?
Or
It's
isn't
mine.
he? Question mark.
But my next pick is number 2, and who made it? John Carpenter. Boom. Yeah, so great segue, and he didn't even know that I was going to mention this movie. But this is a movie, again, I remember the first time I saw it, and of course now I've watched it over 200, 300 times, but I'll never forget watching John Carpenter's Halloween for the first time. I believe I was 12 years old, maybe 13. It was my first band. The band was called Impalement. We called ourselves... what the hell was it? Adrenaline Metal. That was the name that we called the style. It sounded like Korn and Cold Chamber and Fear Factory. And I was spending the night, or me loco. And I was spending the night at his house, and he was like, "What do you want to watch?" And he didn't like. His parents were very poor, so they didn't let him buy VHSs. But he was like, "Oh, I have these movies I recorded off the television. Do you want to watch one?" I was like, "Sure." He's like, "Have you ever seen Halloween?" And I was like, "Halloween? Yeah, let's do that one." And this is before I started into my stoner phase. So I watched Halloween off a shitty-ass rip off probably HBO or some shit that his dad did. Because it was uncut. It wasn't like, AMC or none of the bullshit that fucking Brady watched when he was later in life. But it was something that immediately made an imprint on me. And as soon as I watched it, that was when I became completely obsessed with John Carpenter. So it was like, that was the gateway for me, man. I mean, for real. I mean, I had seen horror films before that, but this was the movie that I was like, whoa, this is for me. I also remember sleeping on his bedroom floor with no sleeping bag, and it was like this piece of shit, like wood floor with like pieces of wood sticking out and like nails and shit. And I was like trying to get comfortable with like one blanket and a fucking tiny ass pillow. And I was like scared of that too. So like it helped make the experience even more frightening. And of course, people that have been listening to this show for a long time, they know it's my favorite horror film of all time. So it's by far up. I had to list it because that one night that I watched it, it most definitely terrified me. And again, it might have been the fact that I might be getting like, having to have to do a tetanus shot the next day because there's a nail going to stick myself in the fucking throat by sleeping on that floor. But I had to mention the movie. It bothers me sometimes. I mean, I know there's that recording that goes around every year when the anniversary hits of the audience reacting to it. That's a recording. And there's also, a few years back they showed it to some college kids and they were like, this isn't scary. And I remember showing my own daughter, when she was, I think 15. Jeremy, you were supposed to come actually with me. It was a bow tie cinema thing. I had a ticket for you. It was me, my wife, my daughter, and you were going to come out and you were like, sorry, man, can't make it or something. And it was my kid's first time seeing on the big screen. I've never missed a year of seeing Halloween on the big screen, whether I'm screening it myself or I'm going somewhere else where someone else is screening it. And I took her to it. And I'll never forget, like, halfway through it, she turned to me and she was like, is this it? Is this all that happens? And I was like, keep watching. And at the end, she was like, I hate horror movies, but that wasn't scary. I was like, you had to be there for it. You had to be there. So there it is. My number 2, John Carpenter. Yes, our true Lord and Savior, Jeremy. Our true Lord and Savior.
That's right. You're goddamn right.
Halloween. There it is. So Nathan, up to your number 2.
I was curious how this was going to play out because with a very specific top 5, I imagined we were all going to converge into a car crash of horror with our number 1 and number 2 picks, and it's already started to happen. My number 2 was The Exorcist as well.
I knew it.
That's way too high up on the list. Oh, it's way too low. Where's that, Justin?
Listen, he's an expert. You're a novice.
And we had the same fucking movie at number 2. You bitch.
I
Sorry.
may get shit
Watch more movies, Brady.
1, But no, I don't know. I think I was going off of my today, Nathan, not when I first saw it. Exorcist was always one of those films. Me and my my cousin Jeremy, who's my partner at HorrorHound, we would rent it or eventually bought it, and we would occasionally watch it around Halloween, and we would put it on, and he would get so worked up over the sorry, my dog is biting me. We would get so worked up trying to like prep ourselves to watch it, and he would just he kept looking at me going, "Oh man, are we gonna be able to finish it?" Oh. It got to the point where we watched it so many times we would start falling asleep, though.
Well, I think what's special, though, and like, you know, to your point there, is that I would love to see a group of kids today, you know, experiencing something like that for, you know, their generation. I mean, we all know our generation that grew up with, you know, mostly the 70s and 80s stuff and some of the 90s stuff. But it's like today, I just don't see these kids, you know, going to see new horror movies, like sitting around watching these movies without their phones in their hands and being legitimately affected by them. So it's like, of course, when we watch these movies 100 times over and over and over again, because we're so obsessed with that feeling, it's basically like, you know, Jeremy said before to me a few episodes ago, you're chasing that dragon, man. Like, you want that same roller coaster ride of that thrill that you had the first time you watched it. And I just don't see, I mean, and you know, we kind of do this with these press screenings that me and Jeremy do for these new movies. Like, you just don't see the same reaction as we did for these older movies. So
no,
it's a different viewpoint that you have as an adult than it is when you're a kid.
It's funny. Like, me and my wife will go out on Friday nights to a bar to get drunk. And why are we doing that? To go have fun and get drunk. Exorcist was that film that we put on intentionally to try to get scared. But yeah, you're probably right. There's not a lot of people that go out of their way to have that experience. Especially not in a communal sense. But yeah, number 2, Exorcist.
I love that pick. I think it's a great pick in number 2.
It's a great pick, not for number 2. Brady, for you. It's a great pick for him for number 2, but not for you.
Oh, okay. All right.
But yes, on to you, Brady. Your
He's gonna
number 1.
I know
Is
why
it
you
Exorcist
guys
2?
first sometimes.
Yeah.
It's Exorcist 3. Get the fuck out of here. Exorcist 2. No one likes
Is it
that
Exorcist
movie.
2, Brady?
Can you let me fucking talk?
Hold on. Hold on. I'll pull your pants back up. I'll pull my hand away from your ass, and I'll stop slapping it.
All right. So
I can speak.
my number 1, I think, features the best final girl chase scene in history.
Oh, here we go.
1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre is my scariest film
Whoa.
of all time. There's a lot that I can say about it. You know, everybody on here, I'm sure knows it, but you know, I love true crime serial killer shit. Justin, I know you do too. Jeremy, I'm pretty sure you do. Nathan, not sure how you feel about it, but you're into horror, so I'm assuming you have some affinity for it, or at least knowledge of it.
I like serial killer stuff.
Yeah. But I think that the main scare of this movie for me is like, there are people like this that could be out there in these rural areas, like in the middle of fucking Texas, or like you'd think of places like Montana where there's like just nobody for miles, but there could be a family in the shack who just gets people, unsuspecting people, and just fucking kills them and eats them and tortures them. And like, watching the movie for the first time, I must have been 17 or 18, and I was sleeping at my cousin's house. And we just put it on because he was like, "You ever seen this?" And I said, "No, you want to watch it?" And just the sound design of that movie and the feel of it being like a documentary, but like the constant buzzing of the saw or the screaming at the end of the movie. I mean, it's like, what, a solid 20 minutes where she's just fucking screaming. And I was like almost overwhelmed, like with my senses of like what was going on in the movie because of that, and like to the point that I felt like I couldn't handle it. Like I had to like pause it, step outside, and come back in and watch it. And even to this day, like just thinking, like we talked about it in our new Texas Chainsaw review back in March, but like the real terror in this movie is the family unit. So Leatherface, yes, is terrifying in what he does, but like walking into that house with the characters and seeing the furniture made of bones or seeing blood everywhere, and then the family dinner at the end where they're all sitting there laughing and making fun of it, and you know, Grandpa bites Sally's finger and all this stuff. It's just fucking terrifying, man. Like
the hammer in the head.
Yeah, the movie is just brutal and does not let up a single bit, and it's terrifying to me. So that's my number one. 1974's Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Brilliant pick. Now I'll praise you, and I'll pat you.
That's
on
one
the
I
head.
can call a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Masterpiece.
Thanks, guys. I knew you guys would come back around. You love me.
No, half the movies Jeremy call a masterpiece are close to it, if not a masterpiece. So
They were like Wrong Turn 4, and Jeremy was like a fucking masterpiece.
I'm like, fuck, I'm like, Three Finger was really scary in that one.
Not as scary as John Carpenter's The Thing, but you know.
Oh, you know. I love it. The thing. There you go. Said it a couple more times. I'm going to number one, which came out in 2007. About a couple that start experiencing some strange occurrences in their home. I'm talking about Paranormal Activity. This movie scared me more than any movie I've ever seen in my entire life. You know, would it scare me now? No, it's kind of like a Shyamalan movie in the sense that once you watch it in entirety and you see all of the different gags and tricks and things like that, you've seen it, you can't go back and experience it again because you know how it ends, right? Watching it that first time, so they screened it in Washington, D.C., before they ever even released the trailer for it. There was not a fucking poster out for it.
Unaware of this.
Yeah, there was not a poster out for it. Nothing. Like, dude, you got to think when they do those trailers of the audience reactions before the movie comes out. Well, like, where did that come from? It came from these random screenings, right? That they held before the movie was officially released. So that's what this was. It was all I knew. You know, of course, the internet is a thing, right? So I knew Paranormal Activity existed. Nobody knew what it was. We just knew that it was coming, and that was it. And so my buddy hits me up, and he works in D.C., and he goes, hey, man, you know, have you heard of this Paranormal Activity movie? And I'm like, yeah, I heard about it. And he's like, what's it about? I'm like, I don't know. He's like, well, they're doing a midnight screening at this movie theater in D.C. Apparently this movie is supposed to be really scary. Do you want to go? Fuck yeah, I want to go. So we go, and again, I'm expecting for it to not actually be scary. And I didn't know anything about this. And then I start watching it, and it all feels real. It feels like I'm there with that couple every step of the way. And it was absolutely terrifying. At the time, I had just been diagnosed with fucking like seasonal asthma, so like I had a inhaler in my pocket or whatever, and like I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe, but not because of my allergies, because I was so fucking scared. So like I'm in this dark theater, like fucking taking hits off my fucking inhaler because I'm like, I can't fucking breathe right now. It's because I was scared. And so we watched this movie, and you want to talk about, you know, Brady, you just mentioned the sound design in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Dude, the sound design in Paranormal Activity is terrifying. Absolutely perfect and terrifying. We got out of the movie. Oh, and dude, during the movie, there was a chick that was sitting next to me, and her boyfriend was on the other side of her, and she was literally crying. She was so scared, and I remember her boyfriend whispering, but he like whispered like a chainsaw. He was like, do you want to leave? And she was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. Stay. She was crying. She was so scared. And I remember I had
I'd have been like, close your eyes, honey. Close your eyes. I got something for you down below.
Down.
It's all nice for you.
have some popcorn. So I went to reach for my drink, and I was watching the movie. I was so intent on not taking my eyes off it. I was enamored with this fucking movie that I went to grab my drink, but I grabbed her arm on accident. She screamed. So I felt so bad because she was already like scared and crying, and I fucking grabbed her arm, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." And so we, my buddy is a cop, and the whole thing was, he lived in DC at the time and shit like that, and he was like, "Dude, we'll watch this movie, come crash at my house afterwards." So we get back to his condo, and I'm so fucking scared that I was like, "Dude, I don't think I can sleep on your couch, man. Like, can I sleep on your floor?" And he was like, "Yeah, man. I was gonna ask you like if you wanted to, because I'm kind of fucking scared too. Like, never mind the fact that he's like a DC cop and like experiences crazy shit all the time. But so, dude, I'm on his bedroom floor. It's like 3:00 in the morning, and like every time I go to fall asleep, I made a noise. I was like, or like something like that, and he was like, hey, why are you making noise, man? Why are you making noise? And I was like, dude, I'm just my body naturally making noise, man. I'm sorry, but dude, this movie made me sleep with the lights on for a solid at least week and a half. Easy, man. Easy. And I just movies just typically don't affect me like that. And horror films are supposed to scare you. They're supposed to thrill you. They're supposed to excite you. And goddamn if Paranormal Activity didn't do all of those things for me. So that's my number one pick.
Fantastic pick. I only put it on my list just for you, Jeremy, to see it now.
Thank you, buddy.
But in reality, though, it kind of like hit me over the last few years, and particularly like talking with you about that movie and hearing you talk about that experience, how much that nailed me. It being a found footage movie and it being a movie that, I didn't see in theaters. Luckily you did, but it's one for the ages. I don't know about the sequels, because I've only watched like a handful of them, and I was probably totally wasted during those. But
I like to.
I'm a fan of
the franchise.
My number one is a movie that's already been mentioned, and it is the first movie that I can recall at the age of 14 going to a party in which an Ouija board was part of the plan, and I'd never seen William Friedkin's The Exorcist before, and it was this tiny little apartment above this shitty house in Earlville, New York, and I watched the movie, and I was terrified, and I actually could not stay at where I was supposed to be sleeping and staying over for the night. There was a girl there I was potentially dating at the time. I remember her first name. Who knows if she's still alive, so I'll say her first name. Her name was Erica.
With a C or a K?
C.
Okay.
Later there was a K. But there was one with a K later, or 2 or 3. I don't know. I can't recall. But this movie, for real though, I mean, it was that kind of night where I was just so taken back, and we were just like sitting Indian style, just like chilling. There was like no drugs or anything, no weed, no nothing. It was just like teenagers hanging out, like watching a movie. I always forget, with these huge screen TVs I've become so accustomed to over the last 20 years. It's like we used to watch these movies on these tiny little, like this little fucking 24-inch television or whatever the fuck it was. Like, I couldn't even see the movie now if I tried to watch it on that, but we watched it on a very small television, and I think it was like an attic or above a garage type of apartment or whatever. And I didn't want to stay there because I was so scared. Didn't want to let on to that. I was just like, no, I'm not feeling this tonight. I just want to go home. Went home, laid in my bed all night staring at the ceiling and listening to every single sound, every creak. And because growing up, my mom always wanted like all these old ass houses She's like, well, we'll buy that and fix that shit up or whatever, and then they never would. So they didn't have the money to do it. So it'd just be like these old houses, like, going to the bathroom, walking in the room, on the floors and shit all the time. But it was the first movie that legitimately scared me, and that's why it has to be my number one. I mean, my list is based upon those experiences where I was legitimately frightened in some way, shape, or form, and yeah, I just gotta say, man. I mean, I know it's cliche. Everyone's gonna say The Exorcist. Most lists on the internet, The Exorcist. I get it, but it was the first movie that really, touched me in a way where it lived in me for the rest of my life. And I think that's what's so special about horror. Compared to action movies, science fiction, any other genre. As it stays with you, you remember it. You'll never forget that moment where you were so frightened. And, that experience that you had, whether you were alone or when you were with a group of friends, that's so special to me that I had that experience with people. So my number one is William Friedkin's The Exorcist. And another little side bit, of course, Jeremy, it was the second time I'd ever met you. We were in line at the Exorcist steps. We both got to meet William Peter Blatty and William Friedkin, and of course William Friedkin threw, what was it, a fucking Sharpie at you or something. We've told this story a million times.
Piece of shit! The Sharpie that I gave him, I had just tested it, and it was perfect. It was flowing perfectly. Fucking 10 minutes later, he goes to sign, and somehow the Sharpie dried out in that 10 minutes. He goes to sign it, and the fucking ink is non-existent. Piece of shit! Throws it right across the street, man.
But I know you left, but I got to be there for the whole commemoration of the steps in the plaque and see William Peter Blatty and William Friedkin commemorate those steps and have a speech. And definitely one of the more special moments for me as a horror fan, or just, cinephile in general, just film fan, to be there for that and see that, because I know Blatty died about a couple of years later, and Friedkin's still with us, because I've actually done a live stream Q&A with him at Alamo since then, and he still likes talking about his movies. Just don't watch any of his documentaries. There it is. But Nathan, our guest, enough blabbing from us, the Brain Stew crew. Your number one scariest horror movie.
Here's the shocking part. My number one hasn't been mentioned yet. And I did not expect that. My number one, I had started going to horror conventions in roughly 2000 was my first horror convention. And I fell in love with going to them. And one of the things that was a big eye-opener for me was the fact that you could find bootlegs of films from other countries. Stuff that just wasn't available. It was eventually available in America, but at that time, it was like discovering that there's an entire world of horror that exists outside of Hollywood. And it was a very exciting time. And there was one movie that is like a drug dealer at this show I would go to. He knew exactly what I wanted. He's like, oh, this is brand new. It's not out yet. Blah, 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 blah. The show we went to was in Cleveland, so it was like 4-hour drive to get home. I think I get home that Saturday night at 1 a.m. I'm so excited to watch this film. I put it on, and it was the biggest mistake I ever made. Literally got in my car and drove to my parents' house and slept on their couch. Like, that's how bad it messed me up. And that's Ju-on, The Grudge.
Wow, The Grudge.
Grudge.
Wow.
There's something about that film, from the way the ghosts were presented, the audio that they would utilize when you knew it was like Jaws. Instead of the da-da, you would hear the noise that was coming out of the woman, and it just, like you said earlier, this is one of those films where there was no escape. You were cursed, and that's the end of it. And it got me. And what was really fun about that movie was the fact that to find out that there were already movies that predated it that you could hunt down. So the internet was still newish But yeah, it was not only discovering something that incredible, but also being able to go and hunt down its origins, the original stuff that was produced over there in Japan. But yeah, it was like a rabbit hole, and it led me to. I mean, maybe at that point I had already seen Ringu, but to discover every other film from Asian horror, from Pulse, The Dark Water, Tale of Two Sisters, they all have kind of a similar backbone, and they all could have easily been in a top 5 list like this. But The Grudge was the one that I had to say was the big numero uno.
Heck yeah, that was a great pick.
Great pick.
Yeah.
I did not expect that one. I mean, I remember seeing it. It was a date type thing, and I will not elaborate any further.
Are you talking
on that.
about the American remake, Justin, or are you talking about the original?
No, the American remake, because I don't recall being able to see the original until
Thus the horror convention.
much later. Yeah, much later. So, yeah, for sure. But fantastic picks all around, even though B-Ratty will definitely... Ladies and gentlemen, if you're going to Camp Blood at the Mahoning Drive-In Theater the first weekend of September, you can be there. I'll bring a proper leather chair, and you'll be able to see him bare ass being whipped. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Maybe it'll have it in the room, but not in front of everyone, unless you really want to have that kind of thing happen. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And Jeremy, I got to thank you for bringing this amazing guest on for this episode. Nathan, dude, the floor is yours, man, to promote all things HorrorHound.
Yeah,
Right.
where
If people want to find you
Yeah, visit us
on the intranet.
HorrorHoundWeekend.com for our convention. Our next show, like I said, Cincinnati, Ohio, September 9th through the 11th. We have shows in Cincinnati next March, Indianapolis in August, and something in the West Coast later that fall. HorrorHound.com for our magazine, and about September 12th that week, the HorrorHound Revenge of the HorrorHound comic book will be available on HorrorHound.com. Halftone Horrors will be available on HorrorHound.com. But yeah, come check us out. And I appreciate you guys having me on. I really do.
Yeah, dude, it's been so much fun, man. I really appreciate you coming on, and I'm looking forward to not only attending the show in a few weeks, but getting to see you, man. It's been a little while.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Really appreciate it.
Really
very
love
much.
your number 2 pick. And and with that,
You notice you got
the
crap
fuck
for it
outta
being number
here.
2. I don't think it was even on Jeremy's 5.
yeah. So,
There's a
but that's
difference.
fine. That's fine.
B-Ratty has to get the rakes up his back, up and down every single week. We just love giving him shit.
It's intriguing to me, the idea. How old were you when you said you saw Chainsaw Massacre? For the first time?
16, 17, around that.
That's unfathomable. I talk to people who I have a buddy of mine who he'll always throw me through a loop. I was 10 years ago, I think he was 28, 29. He said he never had a Twinkie.
Oh,
Jesus.
It's little things like that, and it's things. I grew up with Chainsaw Massacre. I don't remember a moment in my life where I didn't remember watching it. Like, my parents watched that crap in front of me and scarred me. So it's very interesting to meet someone who's discovered horror later in life and not been brought up with it.
it's been
It just-
fun.
It's neat.
And then that's partially the reason why we invited him to be on this show, because otherwise it would just be me and Jeremy being like, "Remember that when we saw that in 9th grade?" I mean, it's definitely something that I think, in retrospect, we want novice horror people to join and listen and enjoy it, because there's we give them shit for it jokingly, but in all reality, I mean, people experience horror for the first time every single day, no matter what title it is, and we want everyone to be inclusive in terms of being able to come on and listen and understand. And of course, we're not going to spoil the movie for you if you've never seen it, and watch it first. But it's great to have that perspective from someone that's younger, that didn't get to grow up with these movies the same way that me and Jeremy did. And I would even dare say Jeremy had even a way wider perspective in terms of the genre than I did. You know, I mean, depends on where you lived. I mean, some people I talked to, you know, the same age, their video store didn't have the selection mine did, or, you know, vice versa. So that's what's always interesting to me, and that's what creates a bigger conversation. That's way more interesting than everyone sitting around, you know, shooting the shit, being like, yeah, Texas Chainsaw or Halloween, or you name the title, and Dead Alive, and we all saw it the same year and whatever. So it gives a larger picture for people, and I just think that's important.
I'll get into I'll get into little comments, conversations with like someone that calls me out a lot, Sean Clark. He'll find out movies. It's usually not horror. It's usually something else. But he'll be like, "You've never seen that?" And he's like, "That's insane." And my reply always is, "Pisses you off, doesn't it?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I was like, "You jealous?" And he goes, "Why the fuck would I be jealous?" I was like, "Imagine if you could watch it for the first time."
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's the perfect response. Not to cut you off at all.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've had that same response to someone, and they didn't understand it, and I said, this is a tweet I did like 2 years ago. I was like, how amazing would it be to experience such movies for the first time ever? How monumental would that be?
But to
some
watch
people don't understand that.
Your brain's fully functional and not when you were 6 years old.
Yeah. That's so special. And that's why I'm excited when I do find stuff that I've never heard of before. But that's another episode all into itself. Ladies and gentlemen, seriously, thank you so much for listening. We love you so much. And Jeremy, if they want to find us on the intranet, on the World Wide Web, where can they find us?
You can find us on epicfilmguys.com and on all the major podcast provider apps. You just type in our name like a Google kind of search, and it just pops up right on there, and you can pop your headphones on and have a good time.
Yeah, you might even be able to look on Google and see some nudes or something of Brady. We'll see. I don't know.
Nah, I scrubbed those. We're good.
I might have stolen them on a disc and put them back up. So just careful. But again, thank you so much for having our guest on, Jeremy, Nathan. You seriously, fantastic episode, fantastic countdowns, great picks. I'm Justin.
I'm Jeremy.
I'm B-Ratty.
And of course, until next time, as always, we always ask you to keep it creepy.